Alaska Library. We have our mat class today. Have your chair handy. We'll do a little bit of extra work with some balance and some deeper stretching. And got my co-star Woola here. He is anxiously waiting Shavasana. So find a nice comfy spot on the floor. Make sure you're seated up real tall. Kind of visualize that you're leaning up against a wall or just have something kind of strapped to your spine, stretching it real tall. I always kind of visualize that everything is really forward, so drop it in. And then stretch up, visualizing you're up against that board or whatever you got to straighten your spine. And dropping in. And coming up. And dropping in. Side to side movement, opening your body. Come into a nice reach up real tall. And if you're noticing by doing this that you're all of a sudden your core is engaged, probably because you don't want to fall backwards, right? So sitting up real tall, dropping your shoulders down, and just resting in, and a little bit of a cat stretch. And reaching up real tall. And dropping in again. And reaching up again. And a gentle twist towards your right, opening up your back. All the way up, and twist, and all the way up, and this time reaching forward like you're going to reach for that ball, stretching, or maybe it's something obnoxiously in the back corner of the cupboard that is just a hair out of your way, and coming up, lifting your hands real high, and reaching forward, and coming up, dropping your hands down, coming forward. So we'll start out with some nice core work, it seems, right? Dropping in, again, focusing on that tummy. Coming back and coming up and dropping in again. Reaching up real tall and dropping your hands behind you, kind of like you're trying to listen much better, right? And resting down and gently pressing up. Honestly, I'm going to move forward a little bit. I was just off. One hand on the mat, one off the mat. It didn't feel right. And gently kind of pressing up. Now, if you have yoga bricks and you want to lift yourself up that way, go for it. This helps elongate the spine, but if you can also visualize that you're going to pull the lower part of your body up, engaging your core, you'll kind of feel everything underneath just pulling up. We'll do it a few times, but do your best not to do it with knuckles, even though it feels like it'd be easier in your hands. If it's too much work, go to the dollar section somewhere at a store. Don't want to give any big box names a name, but there's a couple that have like a $1 spot or a $5 spot. You don't need to spend a fortune on brand name ones. So just lifting up. This is easier. My torso is longer than my legs. So lifting up a few times, do it as it's comfortable for you, but lifting, you might even notice that it's easier to put your hands like on the edge of the brick versus a center. Each hand's different too, right? My hands are, I would say, good size, but I don't have real long fingers, so reaching across changes the grip. So if I happen to be a little bit more towards the edge, it feels more comfortable. So lifting up, pulling that lower body up, and resting down. That also feels good in the spine for me. Kind of feels like it's dropping in. Nice big breath in and out. And lifting up. Really engaging your tummy. And coming down when you're ready. I think by that last one, I really felt my stomach totally engaging. So if it takes a few, really honor your body for core work. Resting down. I'm just going to move them. We might use them later. One never quite knows, right? So gently opening up right leg, stretching up real tall and taking a twist and dropping your head over your toes. And just a nice stretch holding in. You might feel that stretch actually on the opposite side, on your left side. I'm feeling more in the hip. Reaching up real tall, and make sure you're seated pretty equally. If you're not, pull your glutes back just a little bit, and twisting and drop over. And coming up, reaching up real tall, dropping your shoulders down. And twisting in again. And coming up. And then stretch your opposite leg out, sitting up real tall. You don't have to widen your feet super wide to open up your thighs. Just gently dropping forward. Stretching forward towards me. You might feel, this one makes me feel lots of good stretches everywhere. I feel it on my interior thighs, also feel it in my low back, hips, and really a lot into glutes. I always have people that come in and say my low back hurts, and low back to me is kind of about belly button, but when it gets lower, that ends up being a little more hip and glute. So I'll kind of focus in on maybe where you're feeling it, because that might just show where you're a little bit tighter. Usually glutes get really tight on us. Just stretch your head towards me, keeping your toes towards the sky. And slowly walking your body up when you're ready. Once more. And dropping in. Nice long stretch. And coming up. Bringing your right leg in. Doing a gentle twist, reaching up. And stretching over. And coming up, reaching up real tall. And twisting. And holding in. Now this time I'm feeling a little bit of a stretch actually in the knee, on the like right inside that knee where it gets a little bit right where the quad joins in. Feels a little bit tight today on that my right side, your left side. And coming up. Reaching up real tall and twist. And dropping over. And slowly coming up. Again, open your feet. Nice long stretch all the way up. And dropping forward. Now you don't have to go down too far. My hands are kind of about at my knees, and I'm just stretching my chest forward. A nice big breath coming up. Dropping your shoulders down. And stretching forward again. Slowly work your way up and bring your knees together. Kind of come flat. Have your hips and feet feel like they're kind of equal this way, and go into a cat stretch. And coming up. Really straight, holding your hands just underneath your knees. And dropping in. This time stretching back, holding in. So we're just starting out our boat pose. You don't have to go and let anything kind of relax, or you don't have to pull your hands away yet. Holding in and coming up. Just relax your back a little bit. And coming up. Back in again. And just gently coming up again. Bring your hands in front and dropping in if you're ready. Now I still have my feet on the floor. Really focusing in on our core. Forward, just stretching, letting your body relax into this. And coming up and back. And gently coming up. Bring your feet together, bring your hands over your toes, and just do a nice stretch. Breath coming up. Again, coming back to our boat pose. So you can, if you want to, go right into, we can do a partial boat. I like to do partials without doing the full thing because I'm really focusing on one side of the core. And then I also know that I'm not going to get too tired right away. I don't know, maybe it's easy peasy, I'm not sure. And relax, coming up. And coming back again, right leg up. And switch sides. I'm really focusing hard to make sure that my core is really strong, but also just making sure that my back stays strong. That one really shows for me where weakness is in my body, and maybe you find it one of our poses that's the same thing where you're like, ooh, too much. So for me, knowing this spot right here shows some weakness on my core. It also shows where it weakens in my back. Holding in and resting down. Again, dropping your feet, bookending them together. And stretching your head over your feet. Coming on to our hands and knees. Just gently doing a nice cat stretch. And cow, opening up your tummy. We really worked it a lot already. And coming up. dropping in. And coming up again, and this time as we really focus in, we'll work on some balance. So just slightly bringing your right arm up. And resting down, switch sides. This one for me, I notice I really changed my structure. So try to put the weight in your fingers, you know, kind of like all the way through your hand in your fingers. Otherwise, I tend to like rotate my shoulder out and like rotate my whole hand. And resting down, coming to a cat stretch. And back out, right arm. So again, really focus in on how we have the weight in our supporting hand. And resting down, and you know, bring your brick out if you want a little bit more elevation, if it feels better in your hand to be a little bit more elevated or maybe better in the body. Resting down, switch, coming up into a nice cat stretch. And resting down. And coming up. Right arm out again. Resting down, reaching in front again. Nice big breath coming up. We'll do a gentle stretch first and just rolling your toes under and coming back and stretching your feet and your Achilles out. So for those that do a lot of walking, that Achilles can get really tight. So we're just stretching, we're going to do a lot of deep stretching for our core, our pelvis, and add some extra flexibility today. So this just helps our legs, plus it works with balance. So you can check and see how your balance is on this one. Oh, you always got a chair, right? So dropping in, bring your toes back down, come back to our hands and knees. Right arm, left leg. Holding in, really focusing in on your tummy. Hand to knee, bringing it in. And stretching out. Hand to knee. And stretch out. Hand to knee, and stretching again, pressing up and out of your left arm and right knee, resting down, nice cat stretch, and dropping in, and then coming up. And switch sides, right leg, left arm. See if you can lift so you feel like you can balance something equally along your body. And stretch. And stretching in. And out. Once more. Hold. And slowly dropping in. This time widen your knees, coming into a nice deep child's pose. When you're ready, walking your body up. Bring your knees together, roll your toes underneath again, and pressing up. Dropping your heels down, tailbone up towards the sky. And dropping in. If you want to do your balance. Dropping your hands down, tailbone up towards the sky. Dropping in again. Nice balance again. See if you can, how straight you can sit up on this one. Actually, as crazy as this is, this can actually lead to a whole bunch of other yoga poses if you if you feel so inclined. But just literally getting a nice balance if you've got a chair. I'm going to use it later, but I didn't want to do a lot of shuffling. Dropping in, tailbone up. Slowly, hands to knees and rolling up. All the way up. Drop your shoulders down. Bring your hands to heart center. Nice big breath. Now we're going to use our core a little bit differently. We're going to walk our hands all the way down and working our hands out. Going to come into a downward dog. Pressing your tailbone towards the sky. You can widen your feet a little bit. You can kind of pop your knees a little bit. Slowly walking your hands up. Go to a nice forward bend. Hands all the way up. Reaching up real tall. Hands to heart center. Nice big breath. Dropping your hands down and again. Walking your hands down. Nice forward walk. Using your core, coming into a downward dog. Come into a plank. And a downward dog. And back to a plank. Dropping your left knee in, left hand, and gently opening up. Nice hold. Gazing up at your hand if you've got the space in your neck to do so. And back down, back into plank, holding in. Right knee, right hand in the center, and opening up. Gazing up at your left hand towards the ceiling. And back into plank. Nice downward dog. Bend your knees a little bit, pressing your tailbone up towards the sky. And back to plank. Holding into a nice center spot, opening up. Now I think balance for me, the side plank, a supported side plank for me is equally challenging as a full plank. You really have to do a lot of balance, but I actually don't have the core strength to hold a side plank the way I'd like to. It's really, doesn't make my back work well. So that is how I'm honoring some of the muscle usage in my body. And dropping in, good plank, downward dog, and back to plank, right hand and knee opening up, and coming back down, nice downward dog, and pressing in, go to a plank again, hold this one for an extra moment, left hand and knee in, all the way up, and bring your hand down, and coming up, try to hold your body pretty straight, so from top to bottom, and twisting in, and coming up, and in, and reaching all the way up, and coming in, going back to our plank, and a downward dog, and back to plank, dropping in, holding up real long with your left hand, and bring your hand down, and up, and dropping in, and up, and once more, all the way up, and coming down, back into plank, and gently coming down to your knees. Give yourself just a moment. Take a few gentle breaths in. Of course, you don't have to sit on your feet if it's not comfortable. I do like to do it once in a while to help stretch out the shins as well as into the quads. And coming up, this time bringing your right foot forward. If you want to use your chair for some balance, you can. We're actually going to drop our pelvis in, opening up our hip flexors, and coming up, and dropping in, and coming up. Now on this last one, you can go a little bit deeper. I'm actually going to kind of shimmy my toes out. I'm going to drop in a little bit more. And if you notice that my knee is not over my toes, it's actually straight up over my ankle. you've got the space and the power, roll your toes underneath and coming up. And dropping down in. And coming up. Switch sides. So kind of focus in if you need your feet and knees maybe a little bit wider on each one. And coming up. And dropping down in. And coming up. Dropping down, and this time remember we went a little bit further down, so move your feet as you need to. So if you can roll your toes up and you can pop in, it's a nice deep stretch for your hip flexor as well as where your quads come into your thigh or your hip joints there. Dropping down and rotate open a little bit. Going into a child's pose, opening your knees, dropping in, taking a few nice deep breaths in, and then gently when you're ready, bring your hands back, sitting for just a minute. And gently roll your toes underneath again. We're going to walk ourselves back a little bit. Sitting in, using your balance if you've got it. And dropping down, lifting your tailbone up. Bring your hands to your knees and slowly coming all the way up. Nice big breath, hands to heart center. Taking a twist to your right. And back towards center and twisting to your left. And back towards center. This time bring your right knee up. Taking a twist. And switching sides. And resting down. Switch sides. Resting down, switch sides again. Resting down, reaching all the way up. And dropping your hands down. Taking a step forward with your right leg. Warrior one. Nice long hold. Opening up to warrior two. And warrior one. Now your back foot should, if you notice where mine is, they certainly are not parallel. We do a lot of parallel work, so we can do some other work. This is more of a holding in warrior one, so your left foot should actually be kind of kitty corner. Opening up to warrior two. Hands down, holding for a minute. Warrior two. Deepen a little bit. And reaching up. And warrior two. Nice hold. And reaching up and over. And really focus in on this when we're dropping our right arm down, that we're rotating open with our hips. So we're not going too far, if you see. And warrior two. And reaching up. Warrior two. Again, remember, reaching up more than an over. And coming back. This time coming forward, reaching up real tall, and dropping in a little bit, make this a little more active. Holding in. Reaching your head forward and pressing up. So warrior three, remember this one you can use your chair for if you've got a little balance going on. Coming up into our tree pose. And back into warrior three. We'll make this an active one. And coming up. Nice hold. And once more. Into tree again. And resting down. So then when we're creating some muscle memory, we're going to use that again. Coming into our warrior one, left foot forward. Holding in. Opening up to warrior two. And warrior one. Keeping that back foot planted if you can. And opening up. Reaching up. Warrior two, and reaching back, dropping your left arm down, and warrior two, reaching up real tall, and warrior two, reaching up real tall. And warrior two. Reaching real long. But again, remember we're not reaching real far like we do normally. Still just keeping it more of as a lengthening upwards. And try to keep this back leg a little bit soft. Warrior two. Reaching real tall. Warrior two. And stretching up. And back to warrior two. Coming into our front facing, reaching up, we'll do a few active poses. And dropping in. And this time we're pressing off into warrior three, but I realized my foot was just over, my mat is over my rug. And coming into tree pose. Nice long hold. And coming up again. And resting down. Nice big breath all the way up. And swan dive all the way down. Bring your hands to your knees, lifting up. We'll do a few stretches with our chair. So I'm just going to move my mat just a hair sideways. We're going to use the chair for our balance. All right. So first off, we did start with some gentle balancing on the balls of our feet. Widen your feet to the width of your mat. And first, we're going to do a little bit of plie work. So widen as you need to, making sure your toes don't go over your feet, and if they do, widen it out a little bit. So you can hold your arms out, dropping in, and this time coming in. So what we'll do, kind of find a good spot for yourself and drop in. So it's nice to have the chair just in case you're feeling wobbly. Personally, I like to have my hands together. I'm pressing my knees open with my elbows. And if you're ready, dropping your hands down, reaching up. So if you've got the chair, you can just hang out here. And dropping in. So I'll kind of show you using the chair a little bit. And then I tend to bring my feet forward versus having them wide. It feels better in my body. It's probably a little bit easier on the knees. This helps open up our hips. There's actually a whole slew of things that this one works for. Darn if I remember off the top of my head. Working on the back, using a lot of balance. See if you can press your feet open. So you lift your arches a little bit, pressing on the outsides of your feet. And slowly working your way up again. So we'll come into another plank. So let's use your chair for a plank. Really focusing on glutes and abs. And pressing out. And again. And dropping in. Really pressing down this time using your chair. This is great for people that do a lot of desk sitting. Helps open the chest up, stretches the back. Coming back in again. Bring your left leg forward. So we're first starting into kind of a deep lunge. And kind of place your hands, figure out where you need the chair, because you might need to move it a little bit. So kind of pressing up a little bit. So we're opening up. Visualize that your back is flat. You don't want it twisted open yet. Like we could balance something on our hips. And dropping down. And lifting up. Still trying to keep your hips facing forward. And dropping down. And lifting up. This time opening your hips up. So we're just opening our hips, trying to keep our shoulders towards the chair. Gently coming forward. Stepping back again with your left leg. And lifting up. And dropping in again. And lifting up. Dropping down. And lifting up again. Hold. Gently open your hips up. And trying to keep your shoulders down. I'm trying to lift my chest up a little bit. I realized I was kind of feeling sloppy. And slowly coming down, walking back out to a nice plank pose, holding your tummy in and pressing back. And dropping forward. Taking a step forward with your left leg, lifting up. And now we're going to do some balance on this one like we did on a side plank. Left hand in, and you can keep your right hand down. Just a small rotation. Holding in. And just slowly coming forward. Switch sides again. And again, rotating open and holding on to the side. But the goal actually is to keep your shoulders down at the moment. squat in. And coming up, this time once more, taking your right leg out to the side, rotating your shoulders a little bit more, and take this hand away if you'd like to, if you're feeling a little wobbly. Now this is where the chair comes in super handy versus doing all this on the floor. So we're working in. You can bring your hand to the front. All the way up. And resting down. Slowly coming out. And switch. Opening up your hips. Doing a small rotation. So figure out how you need to balance. Slowly, hand down first if you can. Bring your leg down, widening your feet, going into that deep squat. Nice big breath, slowly coming up. And what we will do on this one, kind of my chair in the way, kind of awkward to get up. Moving your chair out of the way and slowly coming down onto our backs. Just give yourself a little roll, side to side. Pressing your feet in, you can hold onto your mat. Pressing your pelvis up towards the sky, working your tummy as well as your glutes. And dropping down. So lifting in, if you've got the balance, lifting your hands up. And slowly dropping your pelvis down, like one vertebra at a time, like you're dropping tape down almost. Nice big breath. Tailbone up first. Reaching up real tall, pressing your pelvis up. And dropping down. And lifting up again. Dropping slowly in. And gently letting one side at a time roll your knees open. So bring your knees a little bit closer together. And holding on to your tummy. And notice as we just gently, if you kind of look at your knees, they're just dropping out maybe a quarter of the way out. So one side at a time. Do a few more. Last one. Just roll it out a little bit. Now this time just gentle marches. We're just lifting our feet off of the ground a little bit. You should feel the lower part of your tummy working. Gently lifting up so you don't have to go too far. There's no need to lift super high. on each one. If you notice, like do one each high. But if you notice that you're lifting lower, you can feel the work happening below your belly button. So that's our goal. Do just a few more. So you can hold your hands out if you want to. And gently letting your knees drop open. Take a few gentle breaths in and out. And when you're ready, slowly bring your legs over to one side, roll to your hip, hang out for just a minute. When you're ready, come into a seated position. Thank you for joining us today. Namaste.